This is Pet Life Radio. Let's talk pets.
Welcome to Animal Rights on Pet Life Radio. It's your host, Tim Link, and I'm so thrilled you're joining us today. Got a super duper guest, a good friend of mine, and she is a wonderful writer and a multi-talented and versatile journalist, writer, and business and marketing person. We're talking about Isabel Alvarez Arata. Of course, you probably know her best from her hit show here on Pet Life Radio, Covered in Pet Hair. So we're going to pick Isabel's brain a little bit about writing styles. How do you get started? How do you develop that into a lifestyle and into a business by getting your message out there, as well as maybe making a little bit of the money? And talk to her, obviously, about the show Covered in Pet Hair. So fun show with a good friend of mine. So it's going to be exciting. Everybody hang tight. We'll come back right after this commercial break. You're listening to Animal Rights on Pet Life Radio.
Take a bite out of your competition. Advertise your business with an ad in Pet Life Radio podcasts and radio shows. There is no other pet-related media that is as large and reaches more pet parents and pet lovers than Pet Life Radio. With over 7 million monthly listeners, Pet Life Radio podcasts are available on all major podcast platforms. And our live radio stream goes out to over 250 million subscribers on iHeartRadio, Odyssey, TuneIn, and other streaming apps. For more information on how you can advertise on the #1 pet podcast and radio network, visit PetLifeRadio.com/advertise today.
Let's Talk Pets on PetLifeRadio.com.
Welcome back to Animal Rights on Pet Life Radio. Joining me now is the pet industry entrepreneur. She's a freelance journalist, a writer, copywriter, business specialist. She focuses on the pet industry, blogging, copywriting, really versatility. And that's what we're going to talk to her about. And of course, we're talking about Isabel Alvarez Arata. Welcome, Isabel.
Thank you so much for having me, Tim. It's great to see you as always. I appreciate the opportunity to be a guest on your amazing show.
Yeah, thanks. Well, it's exciting because, obviously we chitty chat about life and pets and animals. And obviously we've been friends for quite a while now. Very young still. We're still youngsters, of course.
Yes,
but
of course.
I love the fact that, I want to focus a little bit on the writing aspect, because the thing I've always admired about you and what you do is you can create an idea, develop it into a successful industry practice, develop it into a successful business, and at the same time have some fun with it, have some knowledge that goes out to people. And so it's always been something I've admired about how you go about doing that. And so I guess my first question is, how do you sort of get your epiphany of what gets you started in the morning and then continue to grow and expand what you're doing?
Well, first of all, thank you. That's a huge compliment. I appreciate you using my resilience as, something so nice. Really, it's just a matter of having had to be resilient, having had to say yes to things, being like, I am not where I want to be, so I need to try new things. So I think that a lot of people have these lofty goals that they want to do certain things, they want to get certain places, but they're very, very kind of tied to a plan or tied to a path. And I have never been tied to a path, because if life has taught me anything, it's, things change and life can happen when you don't want it to happen and in ways that you never thought it would happen. So when I first started writing, for example, I was running my pet sitting dog walking business in Northern Virginia, and I just happened to meet a publisher of a local newspaper. We were both promoting our businesses. She was promoting the newspaper, the Alexandria Times in Alexandria, Virginia, and I was promoting the Wag Pack, which served Alexandria, Virginia. And I asked her, just because I like to ask people things and I like to get to know people, I was like, "Do you have a pet column?" And she said no. And she told me that they had never found anybody to write it. And I just said, "I'll do it."
And I love that aspect of it. And I love how you go about doing that. I mean, when I hear you talk about that, I see the great business person you are, the marketer that you are, but also looking for those opportunities, those little tidbits. Because I can't remember, I used to teach classes on early writing and publishing, how to get your books published, either through agents or through self-publishing. And the first question I always ask the authors is, what do you see in your book? What do you want it to be? And they're always like, well, I want to be, a New York Times best-selling author. And I immediately say, well, stand in the back of the line because so does everybody else. And the realization, you can't just start a business. You can't start a writing career or publishing a book by expecting it to be an overnight sensation. But I think we get tied up in a lot of that overnight sensations and our inability to be able to sit back, put together a plan like you do.
When I offered to write the column, I would have done it for free. Let's be clear, because it was in my service area. I love to write. I'd been writing for a long time. My mom always told me I wrote well. So I was like, I would do it for free, but they offered me $25 a column. It was monthly. So it was once a month. It didn't take me that long to do, and they allowed me to promote my business. So it was like a win-win situation. They didn't have to invest a ton in the writer. They were just starting to see if they could get advertisers from that endeavor. And I just wanted to get my business name out there. And actually, I got a bunch of new clients for our dog walking services from a lot of the columns that I wrote. So it worked out really well. And then fast forward to the pandemic when I had to close my business. One of my industry friends who knew I wrote that column was like, do you want to start writing again? And that's why I'm where I am today. And my friend's name is Jeannie Taylor. She's a very well-known pet photographer. And she just asked out of curiosity. And from that question that she thought to ask and me saying yes to things that weren't necessarily part of my plan, now I'm writing full time and actually making a living as a writer. So it's just a matter of, you got to trust the process. You got to trust that things are going to work out. As long as you follow your passions and your interests and your conviction, you're going to get there. And I'm still getting there. This is just part of the process.
And I think that's a big part of it as well, is trying the different things, sticking to the plan and initiative, but being flexible enough when new opportunities present themselves, even in fields that is not your norm or is a side of what you're doing. You can definitely create a great living and get your name out there for sure. So now most of the writing the writing you're doing today, I mean, I know it is pet industry and pet care and pet friendly living type things, but it's diversifying even more than that, or at least into different publications that people wouldn't go to necessarily thinking, I want a great pet article, so I'm going to pick up this publication or read it online in digital format. How do you sort of get those opportunities, balance those two out, getting your message as the pet industry professional, but perhaps not getting locked into being just the pet industry professional?
Well, it's kind of been interesting because when my friend approached me to write for some magazines, she was basically asking me to write whatever the magazine needed. A lot of it, because of my business background, were marketing pieces. And so I was able to, go in and tell businesses stories and promote their products in these magazines. Then I got editorials. So the editorials that I've covered a million different things, historical practices. We've talked about roller derby. I've written about so many things, wedding planning, a she shed article. I just wrote one for Charleston women about she sheds and how they're becoming a big deal. And I interviewed, a shed maker and a woman who has a she shed for that. So right now, it's just, I write about anything that the magazines and the newspapers want me to cover. They know me as the pet expert. So they do have me writing for two magazines. I write a monthly pet columns. So for Island Vibes out of the IOP in South Carolina, Isle of Palms, and Mount Pleasant magazine, I have a running monthly pet column where I feature a local pet and I tell their story. But they know that I also can write about organizations in the pet industry. I've written for Low Country Dog about Super Zoo, for example, my Super Zoo experience, which is a trade show that I attend every year. I've written about a lot of things that are and are not related to the pet industry for those magazines. But then the thing that really, truly fills me, and the thing that is pretty much the way I make my living, is writing for pet businesses. So I create content for pet businesses. I blog for them. I do social media management for them. I promote their services and their business in their local vicinity, in their local area, by writing on their behalf, because most of the pet industry business owners are so busy that they want to do all the marketing. They want to tell their story, but they don't have the time. It's just not a realistic part of their, day to day. So they know that I have the experience in the industry, that I've worked where they are. So they trust me to tell their story in their voice and, reflecting their brand standards, their brand, tone and voice, but obviously they know that I have the background to back it up. So a lot of my clients don't even read what I write for them because they trust me so much, which is such a compliment.
Absolutely. Well, I think that's a key part of when I'm looking at business aspects. I mean, I know early on when I've been doing my wagging tails business for almost 20 years now. And early on, I wrote a lot just to get the name out there. So I used to write, and I enjoyed the work and I enjoyed the message, but I wrote weekly for Catster magazine, wrote for Dogster magazine, Victoria Stilwell's Positively, digital magazine, and a whole host of other ones, plus individual articles from places like Guidepost and you name it. So I was writing these small sort of lifestyle type articles with blended in some how-to type of situations. And that sort of allowed me to continue to grow the business from the consultation standpoint while doing something that was supplementing that and allowing the business to grow from the marketing aspect. But I think you hit it. What you're doing most now, and the moneymaker that's coming in is well needed, because you get a business even like myself that, I've been doing this for 20 years and I sort of think I know what works and what doesn't work. But what worked, 20 years, 10 years, even 5 years ago is night and day from where it is today.
Absolutely. I'm trained in search engine optimization. So the blogs, for example, that I write are optimized for Google to find them and promote them. The idea for any business, and any business owners listening know exactly what I'm talking about. You want to land on that first page of organic search results on Google. That's the moneymaker right there. So in order to get there, you need to have a robust website that tells Google that in that specific vicinity, let's say Houston, let's say Alexandria, Chicago, you are the expert when it comes to pet sitting, dog walking, or dog training, or cat behavior. You want to be the expert. And the only way that you are recognized by Google as such is if you have things that are being updated regularly. You speak as an expert would about a topic. Google rates websites according to that reliability and that knowledge and that trustworthiness. And if you are maybe blogging once a year, you're not going to get the same rating as you would if you blogged 3 times a week, which my clients aren't blogging 3 times a week. They're paying me to blog once a week. And most of them can't even dream of doing that on their own, let alone 3 blogs a week. And when you really see these successful bloggers, for example, they're blogging 3 times a day, as just because that is how you get that traffic on your site. Realistically speaking, once a month is better than never. Once every 2 weeks is better than once a month, and once a week is better than once every 2 weeks. So that's what I tell my clients is, write and share your story and share things that you're passionate about, and let Google find you, not by paying them per click, right? We don't want to do that. We want to do it so that we're giving content, we're educating pet parents, we're elevating the industry, and you're also helping your business get recognized online by Google.
It's obviously a critical part of it. I mean, I remember in those early days, just trying to do anything, just tons and tons of interviews, whether it was in studio or whether it was on radio, just trying to get that message out. And usually when you landed, I found out very early on 2 things. One, you had to be diligent at it and had to be doing it for a long time and really become the expert in whatever you're doing in order to be on those front pages. But also you got to look for opportunities to be able to parlay your particular interview or whatever it may be on particular shows that do get a lot of hits.
Yes.
You can't always dictate that, but it's very true. A lot of time, I remember 3 or 4 just specific articles or interviews that people had where I was part of. They asked me to be part of it. And we did the video where we did the article piece, and then everything just blew up from there. But, you can't always, knock on Oprah's door and say,
right,
can you do an editorial piece on me and so on and so forth. That, those things tend to land in your lap a little bit more after you've been doing it for a while. But you got to look for those opportunities. So how do you go about pulling that grasp or getting their minds open to the idea of, okay, I'm running my business. I do all my marketing. I know what works, what doesn't work, et cetera, et cetera. And you're coming in with a new approach, or a proven approach, I should say, but it's new to them. They have never, let go of those reins to let somebody, be able to write blogs and do things for them.
Well, I think that connecting with people really helps. We're connecting with people in your industry. I'm still involved in the pet sitting industry, even though I'm not a pet sitting business owner anymore. I have accepted a lot of opportunities for free without being paid to maybe MC a conference or to speak at a conference. And we do these things because we have a message to share, but it also puts us face to face with these potential clients. So I was just at the Texas Pet Sitters Conference in February, immediately went to Savannah for the National Association of Professional Pet Sitters Conference. And in those conferences, I got clients because they get to the conference and they know for a fact that they're already overwhelmed. They are overwhelmed. They're not doing their bookkeeping. They're not doing enough hiring. Everything has to be done by the small business owner. It's not like you have an accounting department or an HR department. You are all those things. So when you find that somebody you know and trust, can take one of those major things off your plate, you say, oh, please take it. And obviously, because I work in the pet industry, my pricing reflects that. Like if I wanted to work in tech and I had a background in tech, I'd probably be charging 4 times what I charge the pet sitting industry. But that's what fills me and that's what I love and that's what I know about. So it is a lot easier to write about pets than it would be to write about some kind of code, right? Like I don't know anything about that. So it would probably take me 4 times as long to write something that, I can write in an hour for the pet industry. So those things all of it kind of comes together when you trust the person. They're charging you a fair price. That they have to represent you. Like I'm representing them. I'm putting their names. I ghostwrite for them. So I'm putting their names on what I write. And they say, you know what? I have no problem with her pretending to be me, impersonating me, because I trust her. So I think that that's really a matter of connection, longevity in the industry, maintaining that face-to-face connection whenever possible. And also through my show, I think that that's one of the things that I have most benefited from doing Covered in Pet Hair is maintaining that connection with people, even when we're across the world. I get to see, meet, share a drink with people, connect other people. I see a lot of these people in person at Super Zoo after having had them on my show. So we feel like friends already. So it's just creating my circle and then including more people in that circle, the more I get out there and meet people in my industry. And everybody knows somebody. I've had people referring me business all the time, just like my friend who got me into writing after the pandemic. People remember you if, you are willing to help and have a good attitude and look like somebody who really is passionate about what you're doing and it's authentic. I feel people pick that up and they want to promote you, even if there's nothing in it for them.
Yeah, I agree with you wholeheartedly. It's almost a common theme I have been seeing since obviously doing this show, talking to writers and authors and bloggers and those that write articles in publications, but also talking to celebrities, how they got their start and how they built up their brand and their business. And I've seen the theme be fairly consistent. Early days take good opportunities, even if it's not what you thought it was going to be versatile enough to take opportunities and get to know people. And you don't always have to start at the top. You usually start at the bottom and then you work your way up. And before you know it, you're at the top. I guess that's a theme in life, but it's definitely anything to do with entertainment industry as a whole. And I see that trending, in the writing space as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, there's a very controversial Real Housewife of Beverly Hills once said that she doesn't say no to anything. She says yes to everything, whether it's, part of her plan or not. I mean, she's a household name in the Bravo universe. And so, we don't always want to say yes to everything. I will say to her, maybe if you had said no more, you wouldn't be in the trouble you're in. But I will say that there are opportunities that maybe we're like, you know what? I want more, or I want to get paid, or I need. And sometimes it's a matter of kind of saying, maybe this is a cost out of my own pocket. However, what are the benefits? And weighing that out, because not everything is going to pay us dividends the first time. It's all of these things kind of stack up and create a brand and a brand legacy, if you want to say that way, so that you can say, I've done all these things and I would love to help you. And in the future, maybe I'll be able to say, I've done all these things and I'd love to help you. And this is my fee. But until I've done all those things, why would anybody pay me? Right. So it's really a matter of proving yourself, proving that you're worthy of what you are going to command in the future. And I'm in my 40s and I'm just starting out as a writer and a podcaster. And I can't expect, what I did in my 28, when I was 28 and starting my business, to really matter now, because I'm doing something completely different. If I were to apply to work as a manager at a pet sitting business, I'm sure I'd be the best candidate for the job, right? Because I did it for 12 years. I ran my own business. But now I'm proving myself as a writer, somebody who can take freelance work and deliver on time, somebody who can be kind and resourceful enough to find people to interview. Contacts are hard to come by. So I have to be resourceful and I have to prove myself that I can do that. And until I've proven myself, which I think I'm starting now to get more, more editors are referring me to other editors. So I'm seeing the fruits of my labor, but it didn't happen overnight. Here we are 4 years later. And this is really when I'm seeing things kind of come together for me.
There you go. Well, I think obviously the success you had in your previous business and the skill set you learned in marketing and promoting yourself had to make it a little bit easier, obviously, or a lot easier to parlay this into a successful new venture for you.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that that's what's really interesting is everything that we learn really does help us. I know that, there's people who have to take gaps from their employment, people who had to close their businesses during the pandemic, people who had to switch careers for whatever reason. And I think that when a recruiter or when a hiring manager only looks at what they bring to the table based on that particular industry, they're missing so much more, because all of the skills that we learn, whether it be at home as a mom, whether it be, waiting tables, which I did for a long time, and I think everybody should do at some point in their life because it teaches you so many skills. Anything that we do helps us some way, somehow in the next venture. So learn as much as you can. That's kind of my philosophy, is learning as much as I can, doing as much as I can, trying a lot of things. I've had like 20 jobs in different careers and different industries. I started working on when I was 14 years old, and I did it all: customer service, airlines, jewelry store, restaurants, you name it, I'd done it. I was a teacher for a while. Definitely didn't enjoy that because I was too young and too wild. But everything that I did, I took something from, and I probably still use it today.
Yeah. And I think that's it. I think that's key behind one of the many keys behind your success, for sure. All right. Well, we're going to take a quick commercial break, and we'll come back and continue our chat with Isabel Alvarez Arata. I want to talk to her about Covered in Pet Hair and the podcast, video cast that she has off of that, and then wrap up a little bit about her writing styles. How in the world does she juggle all this stuff? So everybody hang tight. We'll come back right after this commercial break. You're listening to Animal Rights on Pet Life Radio. Hey everybody, this is Tim Link, the host of Animal Rights on Pet Life Radio. Got some exciting news for you here today. My audiobook is now available. Wagging Tails, Every Animal Has a Tail, is now available in audiobook form through audible.com, amazon.com, and iTunes. It's a collection of 32 conversations I've had with the animals. It's a fun, interesting, heartfelt book that's suitable for all age groups. So everybody pick up a copy of the audiobook, Wagging Tails, Every Animal Has a Tail. You'll be glad you did.
Let's talk pets.
Let's talk pets
On Pet Life Radio.
Pet Life Radio.
PetLifeRadio.com.
Welcome back to Animal Rights on Pet Life Radio. Continue our conversation with pet industry entrepreneur, freelance writer, journalist, Isabel Alvarez Arata. Now, Isabel, we touched briefly about your show Covered in Pet Hair, which is on Pet Life Radio, but it's also many, many other places. And I think you have a little bit of a unique twist to us, a common host who just come on here and jibber jabber for a while and get our stuff put out there. Tell us a little bit about the show Covered in Pet Hair, and then where people can find out, but also how's that fit into your overall business plan?
Well, Covered in Pet Hair is a boozy show for pet lovers, and it's on Pet Life Radio. As we've discussed, it is so fun to do. I love doing it because I actually started it in the pandemic when I remember missing out on all the industry events that I used to attend. I really loved that face-to-face, that being at a conference or being at an event and then going to get a drink after, having dinner with people. I miss that human interaction, that human connection. So I had the idea to do something where it would feel like happy hour between two industry colleagues and friends. And it would give me the opportunity to highlight interesting people in the industry, because we all have such an interesting story. There's always a pet. There's always a pet that inspired us to enter this industry. We are no different. It is really interesting to know where people's heads were, what backgrounds they had before they entered the industry. I've always found people in our industry fascinating. Obviously, they are my people. I always say that these are my people because if I make like a joke about a dirty litter box, they'll get it and most people won't. So it's my people. Pet people are it's just my circle. And so when Mark agreed, our executive producer agreed to put it on, I just started reaching out to friends in the industry that I felt had a lot to share. And what I want from the show is for it to be entertaining and slightly educational. So mostly entertaining. You can hear somebody's story, you could learn about what they do, and maybe you can learn about a product that'll make your life a little bit easier. Maybe you'll learn some tips for your dog with separation anxiety or your cat that scratches everything up. Whatever it is, you might learn something. You might get to understand your pet a little bit better just from the conversations that we have, but also you'll get to know people in the industry and you'll remember that no matter who cares for your pet, whether it's a veterinarian, a pet sitter, or a groomer, etc., they're humans too. They all have a story. It's more than just, that transactional relationship we have with these pet care providers. And that is really the goal. And how it fits into my business plan is really just highlighting the industry. I've always been an advocate for the pet sitting industry. I think that pet sitting, in-home pet sitting is such an amazing industry. It's such an amazing service for pet parents. I think it's like completely underrated and under acknowledged in the pet industry. I think dog trainers have an amazing power to really improve lives. But I also think that pet sitters, dog walkers can be so important in that overall quality of life of the pets in our care. So I like to just elevate the industry by highlighting the people that are in it, telling their stories, educating pet parents. My goal is not to really reach professionals unless they enjoy that chit chat and that banter. But my goal is to reach pet parents, even if they own pet businesses. We're all pet parents and we can all do just a little bit better for our pets if we know what they need, if we better understand what they're after, what their reactions look like, what their behaviors look like. So that's really the goal, is just to bring people together, elevate the industry, and elevate pet care in general.
Yeah. Well, one of the things I always enjoy, obviously, talking to you whenever I get to appear on Covered in Pet Hair, but it's the, like you said, the entertainment aspect of it. I know that if I'm interviewing an author who writes about animals, or a author who is a professor, or a serious veterinarian who has a serious book that they're publishing and putting out there, or a serious article that's coming out, they get bombarded over and over again with the same questions about what it is. And it's great. It's great knowledge because it may be the first time somebody is actually hearing this person, or maybe they've heard their name but really haven't paid attention to everything that they're writing. But it's always the question that hits them that, you do a great job of asking these quirky little questions behind the scenes to peel the onion back on your guest, to get people to relate, to say, hey, this guy, yeah, he is the professional in this area, but he's also kind of a normal, strange kind of guy.
It's always about getting to know the person. We play games where I say, like, there are no wrong answers. This is your opinion. I want your personal opinion about this. We'll also play games where we both learn. I'll get statistics that my guest would never know off the top of their head. And I'll ask, true and false questions so that we can both learn together and, gauge how serious a problem is, how common a problem is, things like that. And I always put people on the spot in the best of ways. So I'll be like, I'm going to give you a minute, to describe your product as if you were on Shark Tank or something like that. But it's always playful. It's always got the best intentions in mind. I never want to catch anybody not knowing an answer. I really just want to have fun with them, enjoy their company, and just kind of learn what makes them tick. And if I can learn from them, which I always do, that's always a bonus, because I can just be like, oh, I didn't even think about that. Or I didn't expect that answer from you. I would have expected something different. So there's always surprises for me as well. Even though I research the show and plan the questions and do all that, sometimes I end up surprised too.
Yeah, absolutely. And maybe you'll find some tidbits where they let something slip that you can hold against them later. That's what I'm thinking.
Well, it's so funny because at first, when I first started, there were a lot of people who were like, what's that? I'm not going to try to drink. And I feel like people were trying to be very, I guess, proper in the pet industry. I don't want to have a drink. Or maybe people who don't drink didn't want to come on because they were like, well, I don't drink. And that's not a requirement. Obviously, I worked in restaurants. I love wine. I love cocktails. That's just part of my life. My joys in life is enjoying food and friends and wine and cocktails, and tequila is one of my favorite spirits. So that's me. But that doesn't mean that everybody who comes on my show has to feel the same way. And I've had many guests who do not drink. I had a guest who had a popsicle while we chatted. I have guests who have coffee. It doesn't really matter. But the point is to feel like we're in the same place and sharing a refreshment together and just getting to know each other in a more casual way where, yes, this looks like it's like all set up, but this might as well be my living room because this is, like all of my special things, all the things behind me on my studio represent a part of me. And so when I get to see their studio or wherever they've set up in their house, like what you have behind you is pictures. And we get to see a glimpse into these people's personal lives, professional lives as well. And we just get to connect on a human level.
That's right. And as George Costanza says, Pepsi beats wine anytime, hands down. I don't care what you say. Just kidding.
The good thing is, George, there'll be plenty of Pepsi for you and plenty of wine for me.
That's it. That's it. Well, being from Atlanta, I've got to say Coke is better than Pepsi, though I don't drink sodas at all.
I was going to say.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, you're going to get kicked out. Forget it. Start packing.
My cheeky way is when being invited to a good meal or a get together or a birthday party, whatever it may be, bring the best of something, whether it's best bourbon, best tequila, best wine, because good chances they'll feel compelled to open it up right when you get their glass right in front of them.
Oh my gosh, you're so funny. Do you know that did not happen to me at a party? I brought a really great bottle of champagne for a recent party and they put out like their leftover holiday wine. And I kept being like, I kept circling the bar to see if they updated the wines and they had it. So yes, hopefully, usually that's the way it goes. Hopefully that is the way it goes. In my house, we open everything that's brought that day. Let's open it up and we'll figure it out later.
There you go. That's good. I like that. So let's pick your brain. This is one of the things that always trips people up when no matter how long they've been writing or publishing books or articles, whatever it may be, is the writing style. It always shocks me that people maybe not realize they have a writing style. And I'm not just necessarily talking about content. I'm talking about what's your routine. How do you keep the balls on the table? Are you a 5 a.m., write 5,000 words a day type of person? Or are you like me, wait till the deadline and whip something out real quick and hope it sticks?
Okay, so for my blogging clients, I like to work ahead, even though I've not accomplished that for very long, because just in case something happens, I want them to have, a weekly blog every Monday or a weekly blog every Tuesday. They all get a date assigned to them during the week, and they will get a blog every week on that same day. So for those, I try to work ahead. Most websites have the ability to schedule your blog in advance. So you can write, you can go to a hotel, which I've done before, and spend a whole weekend just writing blogs. Just write blogs, schedule them, 1 week after the other. And it's optimized and it's ready to go. And you don't even have to worry about it for a month or two, however many you can write. And for blogs, you're looking at 450 minimum for words, and maximum if you're writing pretty regularly, you don't want to really go over 1,000. The optimal blog length is about 500 to 750 words. So it doesn't take that long, especially if you're writing something that you know and love. For the magazines, however, it really is a matter of starting immediately because I have to find contacts to quote for these articles. And if I'm doing a marketing piece, which I don't do as much anymore, I'm doing much more editorial or columns now. If I have to find a quote from somebody and I don't know anybody, let's say, do you think I have a shed maker in my contact list? I didn't. So I went straight to the internet, started sending some emails out and hope that somebody responds. The challenge for journalists, I think, and writers in magazines, newspapers, and similar publications is that people don't know if they trust that you're just going to get their quote and not ask for more. I will say that some people are hesitant to talk to me because they think I'm going to be like, oh, here's what I wrote, but now you need to pay me for an ad space. And the magazines that I work for, that is not the way we operate. There's no bait and switch. But I guess there are publications out there that kind of get a little sketchy. So people are concerned. But my recommendation to any expert out there, if a publication reaches out to you for comment, respond and ask them, is there any charge to participate? It is a very common question. I try to include it in my intro email. Like, there's no charge. You're a subject matter expert. You will be quoted. I will let you approve your quote. You can email me your quote if you're more comfortable. I like to make my contacts really comfortable, but you can always ask to make sure that you don't feel like you're going to fall into a bait and switch situation if you don't have the marketing dollars for some kind of publication near you. Even though I highly recommend local publications, I think they're great. I specialize in local business, and I always see such great results from certain publications that cater to the local public. So really, with those, I have to start immediately. I have to do a lot of follow-up. I have to, I can't take it too seriously if somebody ghosts me, if somebody changes their mind, if somebody doesn't meet my deadline. I just kind of have to have a lot of contacts working at the same time so that when the due date arrives, I have at least a few quotes and I can throw things together. Because that's really what it comes down to is when you're a journalist, you're getting the information from others. You're not writing the information. So you have to compile that information before you can even start working. And so the sooner I can get that information, the sooner I can knock it out, the better I am at making my deadlines. Luckily, my editor, my publisher are very well connected in the areas where I write. So they can oftentimes give me contacts, but sometimes they can't. So that's when things get really hairy. That's when my job becomes the most difficult.
Well, that makes sense. It makes sense. And that's the interesting thing about the little blurb, the little quote from somebody. For those that get contacted by Isabel or other journalist writers, definitely ask those questions, but get your quote out there. Yes. They may ask you 20 questions and you only have one blurb in the whole article, but those things stick. I remember just about a week or two ago, somebody referenced a quote that I gave to, and I apologize, I can't remember the publication, but it was about digging dogs in your garden. How do you prevent your dogs from digging in your garden? And that quote has to date back 15, 16 years ago. And the answer to you, just to let you know, is find them alternative things to pay attention to. Get it if you have the proper yard, get a large tractor tire, fill it with play sand, bury some toys in there, and that'll be their digging spot. So just a little tip from your Uncle Tim there. But
that's a really good tip. I love that.
Yeah, those little quotes. So get the message out there for sure. If someone is asking for your expertise, is a key way to do it. And then I like what you said. I admittedly I did not know this. I did not know that if you write blogs for others, that you could actually schedule them out. So you could write up, even if whether you're doing it for yourself or whether you're doing it for as a business like yourself, you can write up a bunch over a weekend or over a day and have them staged out, and you don't have to worry about that aspect of it moving forward. And I think that's brilliant, and that's something that I would have. It seems logical now that you mentioned it, but I would have never thought, hey, I wonder if there's a service out there or some way I can get my 20 blogs sent out over a 20-week period.
The only limitation I've seen to that is if you have like a free website, they may have you upgrade in order to get that feature. Totally worth it. I think having a website that has a blog on it is basic. These days, people want to see what you're about more so than just your About Us page. They might browse your blog. I also like the idea that when you are in a publication, for example, like you said, the publication, of course, for me, they are print publications. So you get a magazine, you get the newspaper, but you are also quoted online on their virtual magazine, right? The online magazine. And most of those publications have their own website where they put all of their articles on there, all of them. So if you were to Google Isabel Alvarez Arata, you find my name in a lot of places, not because I've written for online publications. I've written for print publications that also publish online. So it's really important that if you are a subject matter expert, you're an animal communicator, you're a CPA that specializes in law firms, you're a realtor that specializes in homes over $1 million, whatever it is, talk to them so that you're not only reaching, the publication audience, but you're also living indefinitely online with that quote. So make sure it's a good quote. Make sure that you have control over the quote. Maybe ask them to send you questions over email, which is better for everybody because then nobody has to change your quote. Check your grammar and send it and enjoy the benefits of having, an article online that not only can you look at, reference back to, but you can share on across your social media. You can take a screenshot, use it as images. You can even make a reel out of it, reading some of the, important parts of what you said. There's so much you can do with that content once it's out there, and it's free advertising and free content for you to share.
Yeah. And I think it's a brilliant thing. And you say, no, print is definitely not dead. And so many publications
Mm-mm.
have a print version, then they'll put it on their digital platform as well. And especially when you're talking about, you had mentioned the local newspapers and the
Yes.
local publications. I can't count the number of times I'll read one of those and I'll pull out an article and I'll save it. Or a client will contact me, said, I pulled this out, didn't think I'd ever need it, but I stuck it in a drawer anyway. And guess what? They remembered where they put it, which is amazing to me.
Exactly.
Then they contacted me for my services. And also, we'll leave you one quick funny story on that whole regards to local compared to national and international publications. I was blessed many years ago to help a client who wrote as a senior editor for the Associated Press. And I did not know that at the time. And so I helped her with her cat situation. She had two cats that were fighting, and I got them to live in the same small apartment in Manhattan for the rest of their lives without fighting. So it worked out real well for everybody. And she wrote a wonderful article that got picked up to 129 different outlets across the nation. I mean, we're talking about, the Washington Post, USA Today, San Francisco Chronicle, Detroit Free Press. I mean, it went out to some of the biggest and baddest publications out there. And I remember my late mom, up in Indiana, and I would call and I would tell her these things, and I'd go for a visit and say, Mom, this is hitting everywhere. It's in this, it's in that. And Mom would say, oh, that's just lovely, Tim. That's just lovely. That's nice. Well, one visit, right when this was all happening, I was on a book tour, and lo and behold, it came out in our local newspaper, the local hometown newspaper, the Palladium Item in Richmond, Indiana. And there I was on the front page with my little article where they picked it up from the Associated Press. And then it became real. And so I went to visit Mom, and she had it plastered on her door, to her little nursing apartment. And all the people knew me. I was a celebrity in my hometown, got to throw out the first pitch at a ball game and all that wonderful stuff.
Wow.
But it wasn't real. Here I was in all the biggest, baddest publications out there, and it wasn't real until it hit that hometown newspaper. So I think that's
so
a very valid statement that you had made.
It's interesting because I always thought that maybe the older generations were more connected to the local newspapers, but most of the people I work with are younger than me in the local papers and the local magazines. So there's definitely still the younger generations are understanding it. It is a really great way to build community and to support local business. And even reading your local publication is supporting local business. Just reading it, right? Learning about what's going on in your town is supporting local business, which is something we all want to do. And just a final note about writing styles, like when it comes to like AP style versus whatever style, I have to write in very different styles. For the magazines and newspapers, obviously it's AP style. So we do not use the Oxford comma. And then for blogging, for example, Google wants it to be shorter sentences, and they put a really big emphasis on readability, but not like your fancy readability, your middle of the road person being able to follow, not get bored, not get overwhelmed with. So you have to know who you're writing for. And so I'm very intentional about today. I'm writing for the magazines. I write this way. And for the blogs, I write this way because they are completely different. And it really is nice as a writer to be able to do both. And on top of it, to optimize for SEO using keywords and all that. It really keeps you on your toes. So it's like I get to do different things for different clients all the time. It's not mundane or redundant because it really is more streamlined, targeted for whomever it is I'm writing for. So I really enjoy it. It keeps me on my toes.
There you go. And then when you start writing more and more international, then you have all that to worry with too. The UK English compared to the American English, and writing for publications in Spain, that would be good for you. So,
it's one of the reasons I'm fluent in Spanish, and it's one of the reasons that I've not at all tried to translate my show or what I write, because I'm like, I don't think I can handle it. I think I've got enough in my brain right now. Maybe when I start feeling like I need a new challenge, I'll start writing in Spanish.
There you go. I'm waiting for that to happen any day now, knowing you. So, Isabel, tell us a little bit about where people can find out more about you and your writing and your services and all the wonderful things you do.
Well, I can be found on Covered in Pet Hair across all social media platforms, on PetLifeRadio.com, You'll find all of the episodes we've put out. You'll find me on YouTube at Covered in Pet Hair as well. And if you Google my name, you'll find all the publications that I write for. Like I said, they share my writing not only in their digital magazines, but also online. So, and if you are an aspiring writer, my recommendation is, and if you want to write for your local paper, your local magazines, just email the editor. They're always looking for reliable people. All they'll ask you for is a writing sample. And you know what I used as my writing sample for my first ever paid writing job is a newsletter I sent to my clients. And it still got me the job.
There you go. There you go. Keep all that old material. You never know when you have to blow the dust off of it. I love it. Reuse.
Yeah. Reuse.
So that's it. So that's it. Coverwithpethair.com. We'll post that on the site and obviously all of the other social media sites for Isabel Alvarez Arata. Isabel, it's always a pleasure. I could talk all night, all day with you for sure.
Same.
I'm excited about all your writing and all your new adventures and ventures going on. So definitely the admiration is always there for you. And I look forward to continue following you and finding out what you got going on the next time around.
The admiration is absolutely mutual. Thank you so much for everything. And if it wasn't for you, I don't think I'd have a show on Pet Life Radio, because you are the reason that I was able to speak to Mark.
There
you
you go.
Did that warm intro, you see?
That's it. And I only take 10% off the top. So it's great stuff for me.
Worth every penny.
There you go. All right. Well, we're coming to the end of the show today. I want to thank everyone for listening to Animal Rights on Pet Life Radio. I want to thank the producers and sponsors for making this show possible. If you have any questions, comments, or ideas for the show, you can go to petliferadio.com. And we will definitely answer your questions, entertain your comments, and bring on the people you want to hear from most. And while you're there, check out all the other wonderful shows, including Covered with Pet Hair. That's at petliferadio.com. So until next time, write a great story about the animals in your life, and who knows, you may be the next guest on Animal Rights on Pet Life Radio. Have a great day.
Let's Talk Pets, every week on demand, only on PetLifeRadio.com.